Okay, let's finish up our molded Christmas candy. And just to recap, I have some chocolate light cocoa candy melts. I have this Santa mold. Something to melt the melts, a spoon. I have a Cello bag and some ribbon. Oh, and I also have M&Ms. Many years ago, when I first started making these candy melt chocolates, I wanted everything to be the proper color. So like his hat would be red and then the little pom-pom white. So I would get all these different color candy melts, or I would get white candy melts and color them what I needed them to be with gel food coloring. You cannot use regular food coloring because it's water-based, and chocolate and water don't play well together. So I would have all these little bowls lined up, and I had some little food-safe paintbrushes, and I would meticulously sit there and paint the proper color in the proper area. And it looked amazing, and I encourage you to do that if you want to. However, I gave up on that rather quickly because I needed candy for my kids' schools, my mailman, my UPS man, my co-workers, my family, my friends, and it just got to be too much. So now I just make them one solid color and don't bother with what the proper color would be. Now, with this mold, it is made so that you can cut it in half, and then these little indents here correspond with these little buttons here, and it's meant for you to be able to fill each one, place them back to back or this side to this side, and clamp it, and then you will have a solid Santa. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to fill each individual cavity, and now you can fill these completely up and have a solid Santa. Just use some more candy melted and glue them together, and that's fine. I don't think anybody will complain about having more chocolate, but I'm making mine hollow. And now there's several different ways you can do this. One popular way is to fill these cavities completely up, and once the sides have hardened but the center is still not hardened, you just pour it out. Pour out that excess, and that leaves you with the shell. But I'm already messy. I don't really need that much more mess in my life. I've done it, it's fine, but I prefer to do it a different way. So melt your chocolate. Here's mine. And when I'm doing an entire bag, I set my microwave on 1 minute, and then I do 30-second intervals until it actually melts. And this one melted with just the 1 minute. And I've let it sit a little bit to cool off a tiny bit so that we can make these cavities hollow. So let's put some candy in. In both of our cavities. And I may have allowed this to sit a little bit long, because usually I just swirl it around, but it looks like I let it sit too long. So what I'm going to do is scrape this chocolate up. Normally you wouldn't let it harden this long, and you would just swirl it around. But we're going to work with what we have. So that's all we're going to do. We're just going to scrape it up the sides, check the other side, make sure there are no bubbles. If there are, tap it and deal with it. And then I'm going to throw this in the freezer for a little bit. And I will come back. Okay, I popped this in the freezer, and in about 10 minutes or so I took it out and I checked, and I was worried about, since we did the scraping up motion with the chocolate, I was worried about my outer edges. So I just took more chocolate and I reinforced all my outer edges. And now what I'm doing is, when I did that, I got really sloppy. So I'm just taking a kitchen knife and just scraping even with the mold. Now, we can clean it up once we get them put together, but at this point it's really simple, and I kind of just let the chocolate bits go wherever. If they go inside, that's fine. So I'm going to clean these edges up, and then we'll carry on. Okay, I have unmolded my Santa. I just put the plate over the mold, turned it upside down, and let it come out. Now, I let this warm up a little bit. I didn't want it brittle, frozen and brittle, so that it would break. Now, I realize that the insides don't look amazing. That doesn't bother me. However, if it does bother you, you can warm up the back of a spoon and just rub it through there and smooth everything out if you want. Now, you can fill this with whatever can fit, whatever your imagination tells you. I'm using M&Ms. I tried to find those little tiny mini M&Ms, but of course couldn't find them, so I have regular size M&Ms. You could do coconut, you could do marshmallows, you could search on Google for peanut butter cup recipes, and it'll give you that peanut butter filling recipe. I don't know. Tootsie Rolls, Rice Krispie treats, whatever you want to put in there. But I'm just going to put these regular size M&Ms, since I couldn't find the little minis. And I'm going to stack this a little bit, because I do have some room on my other side. Get this center in here. Okay. Now, I have opted to use some disposable kitchen gloves so that my fingerprints don't show up on this Santa. And I'm just going to take the chocolate that we made the Santa with and just put a layer all the way around these edges. Yes, I know. It just went on that M&M. I know. It'll be okay. And we're just going to put it along the edge. You can do it much neater if you want. Get this other glove on. And then I'm just going to pop them together. Now, once this has hardened up, we just go along with a knife and trim off these edges. Now, if you're bothered by any of the openings here, by all means, go ahead and fill them with a little bit of that same chocolate, and then you can scrape it off. It doesn't bother me. I'm going to leave it. So I'm going to go put him away in the freezer for a little while, and maybe the refrigerator. Then I'm just going to take the same knife I was using a little bit ago and clean up his edges, and then we'll put him in a gift bag or in a Cello bag, and we'll be all done. Okay, here is my Santa and his Cello bag, some ribbon, and it looks like on his nose I have a little air bubble. I mean, it happens no matter how careful you are. And I can't work out if you can see this or not, but I have some textured looking smudges or something on him, and that's because the chocolate on this glove was wet when I touched him to put him in the bag. But in any case, he's like a little Santa Maraca. I hope you will give this a try, and thank you so much for watching.